If you have been staring at a set of steel wheels so eaten up with rust that the orange crust is flaking off in chunks and falling onto your garage floor, if you have ever spent a full hour on your knees with sandpaper grinding against corroded metal while breathing in that brown iron dust that coats the back of your throat and makes your eyes water, and you stopped, looked at the part, and realized with a sinking feeling in your chest that the pitting was still packed with corrosion and you had barely made a dent, then this video is going to change the way you work forever. And I need you to stay with me until the very end, because the single most important piece of this whole puzzle, the part that will make or break the entire method, is something I am going to hold until late in this video. And if you miss it, you will undo every minute of work you put in and be worse off than when you started, so do not go anywhere. Right now, you are staring at a choice that feels like there is no good option on either side. You can keep grinding manually with wire, wheels, and sandpaper and steel wool until your forearms give out, breathing rust particles, hunching over the same stubborn bracket or wheel for the better part of a Saturday, and still not get back to bare clean metal. Or you can drive to the auto parts store and stand in the rust treatment aisle reading labels on thick gel products that cost $30 a bottle, with warnings printed in red text about skin burns and eye damage and the need for chemical-resistant gloves, and wonder whether the cure is as bad as the problem. That is exactly the trap the major chemical brands have built for you, and today I am going to blow the door off it completely. I am going to show you a solution that costs $1, sits in the baking aisle of almost every grocery store in America, and will strip surface, rust off steel wheels, hand tools, brackets, and hardware down to raw factory metal in 5 minutes flat with zero scrubbing, zero wire brushing, and zero skin contact with anything toxic. Before I give you the full method, and before I reveal the critical warning that you absolutely cannot skip at the end of this process, or you will watch your clean bare steel turn bright orange in front of your eyes faster than you can react, I want to make sure you are subscribed to this channel right now, because what we do here is cut through the retail marketing machine and hand you the real information that keeps money in your pocket and rust off your project. Hit that subscribe button and let us get into it. Walk into any major auto parts retailer or scroll through any online restoration supply catalog, and you are going to see professional rust dissolver products stacked on shelves and promoted with photographs of gleaming bare metal and dramatic before and after comparisons. The labels say things like industrial strength and heavy duty and professional grade, and they come in spray bottles, in thick gels, in concentrated dip solutions, all priced between $20 and $40, and all marketed with the implication that you need a sophisticated chemical formulation to tackle serious iron oxide. You do not. The rust treatment industry has built an entire product category around a problem that basic organic chemistry solved a long time ago, and the ingredient that does the real work is not locked inside a proprietary formula in an orange bottle with a skull warning label. It is sitting in a small cardboard box on the baking supplies shelf between the cream of tartar and the cornstarch, and it costs $1. It is pure citric acid powder. Plain, food-grade citric acid, the same compound found naturally in lemons and limes, the same ingredient used to add tartness to candy and to preserve canned goods, and when you dissolve it in warm water and submerge a rusted steel part in that bath, something remarkable happens at the chemical level that I am going to explain in a moment. The rust does not just loosen, it does not just soften, it separates from the steel completely and turns into a black slurry that you wipe away with a rag, leaving the underlying metal clean, flat, and untouched. I want you to think about that for a second. No abrasion, no grinding, no mechanical force whatsoever. The chemistry does all of it. And I am not done yet, because the most important revelation in this entire video, the thing that separates people who get a perfect result from people who ruin the part entirely after the bath is done, is still coming, so stay right here. First, let me talk about why the expensive products are not just overpriced, but are actually counterproductive for a significant portion of restoration work, because this is something the brands are not going to put in their marketing materials. Many of the heavy-duty rust-stripping gels on the retail market rely on concentrated mineral acids or on phosphoric acid compounds that work through an entirely different mechanism than what I am describing today. These formulas are aggressive, And the reason they are aggressive is that they attack metal indiscriminately. They do not distinguish between the iron oxide that you want gone and the healthy base steel underneath it that you absolutely want to preserve. Mineral acid products dissolve rust, yes, but they also begin etching into the surface of the parent metal itself at the same time, which is why parts treated with heavy gel products frequently show micropitting and surface texture that was not there before, even after the rust is gone. The surface you are left with is not factory clean metal. It is chemically conditioned metal with a roughened, partially etched texture that those brands will tell you improves paint adhesion, but which in practice creates a different set of problems. Beyond the surface attack issue, many of these concentrated formulas leave a chemical residue layer on the metal after the product is rinsed away. That residue is thin, it is invisible, and it actively interferes with paint and primer adhesion at the molecular level. You prime over it, the primer looks perfect going on, you paint it, it looks great for a few weeks, and then the primer begins to lift and bubble and peel, because the bond between the paint film and the metal surface was compromised from the beginning by chemistry you could not see. That means you are stripping the part again, repriming, repainting, and losing another weekend to a problem that the $30 product you used to solve the first problem actually created. That is the cycle these retail products lock you into, and that is why knowing the alternative matters. Now, let me break down exactly why citric acid works the way it works, because once you understand the chemistry, you will trust this method completely and you will never go back to the gel products. Rust is iron oxide. When steel is exposed to oxygen and moisture, the iron in the steel reacts and forms ferric iron compounds, primarily iron 3 oxide, the red and orange and brown material that flakes and pits and crumbles. The chemical challenge of rust removal is separating those iron oxide molecules from the surface of the underlying metal without disturbing the metal itself. Citric acid accomplishes this through a process called organic chelation. Chelation comes from the Greek word for claw, and it is a precise description of what happens at the molecular level. Citric acid is a weak organic triprotic acid, meaning it has 3 acidic hydrogen groups that can release and interact with metal ions in solution. When citric acid dissolves in water, its molecules form a specific geometric shape that allows them to wrap around ferric iron ions, the iron that is bonded with oxygen to form rust, and bind to them through multiple attachment points simultaneously. Those claws lock onto the ferric iron, pull it away from the oxide structure, and hold it in solution as a stable water-soluble complex. The key word there is selective. Citric acid in the concentration range, we are working with targets ferric iron, the oxidized iron in rust, with a much higher affinity than it targets the iron in non-oxidized base steel. That selectivity is the entire reason this method works without damaging the parent metal. The rust molecules are pulled into solution. The healthy metal underneath is left intact and flat. No abrasion, no etching, no indiscriminate acid attack on the surface you are trying to preserve. The black slurry you see forming in the bath during the process is the iron citrate complex, the rust that has been lifted off the steel and is now suspended in the liquid. You pull the part out, you wipe the slurry away, and underneath is bare, clean metal. That is organic chemistry doing precision work that a $30 gel product with a skull warning label cannot replicate. And now we are getting to the part of this video where the stakes get serious, so I need you locked in for the next few minutes, because what I am about to tell you is the difference between a perfect result and a catastrophic one. And most people who try citric acid dipping for the first time do not know this until it is too late. Let me give you the exact protocol first, and then I will give you the warning that you cannot afford to miss. You need a container large enough to fully submerge the part you are treating. Full submersion is not optional. Any portion of the rusted surface that is above the waterline will not be treated. For wheels, you may need a large plastic tote or bin. For smaller parts, a bucket works perfectly. Fill the container with warm water. Warm water increases the solubility of the citric acid and speeds up the chelation reaction. Add 4 tablespoons of citric acid powder per gallon of water and stir until the powder is fully dissolved. The solution will be clear with a faint yellow tint. Submerge the rusted steel part completely. You will see fizzing begin almost immediately as the acid starts reacting with the iron oxide. That fizzing is normal, and it is the reaction working. Let the part soak for 5 minutes while checking progress. Depending on the severity and depth of the rust, you may see the black slurry forming on the surface through the container wall. After 5 minutes, pull the part, wipe the loosened material away with a rag, and inspect. Heavily rusted areas may benefit from a second 5-minute soak. The result on surface rust is typically clean, bare metal, with the original steel surface geometry intact and undamaged. Now, here is what I have been building toward, and this is the single most important instruction in this entire video. When the part comes out of the citric acid bath, your job is not done. You must immediately prepare a neutralizing rinse using baking soda dissolved in clean water, and you must submerge or thoroughly rinse the entire part in that solution before you do anything else. Do not set the part down and walk away. Do not stop to answer your phone. Do not go look for a rag. You move that part from the acid bath directly into the neutralizing rinse without delay. Here is why this is not optional and why the consequences of skipping it are severe and happen fast. The citric acid bath works by stripping rust through chelation, but in doing so, it also removes every microscopic layer of surface protection from the steel. Rust itself, while destructive over time, forms a surface layer that actually slows further oxidation. Mill scale and surface oxides on steel slow the rate at which oxygen and moisture can begin a new rust reaction. The citric acid bath removes all of it, every bit of it. What you have when that part comes out of the bath is the most exposed, reactive steel surface that part has ever had. It is atomically clean iron in direct contact with air and humidity, and iron in that state will react with the oxygen in the air and the residual moisture on the surface, and it will begin to rust again immediately. Not in an hour, not overnight, in minutes. Sometimes in under 2 minutes, depending on your garage humidity. The new rust layer that forms in this hyperreactive state is called flash rust, and it is not the thick orange crust you started with. It is a thin, bright orange film that locks onto the surface so rapidly and so completely that by the time you grab a rag, the part already has a new oxide layer that will interfere with priming and painting. The neutralizing rinse stops this reaction by bringing the pH of the surface back toward neutral, stopping the acid activity, and giving you a window to dry the part thoroughly and apply a primer or rust-inhibiting coating before oxidation can begin again. After the neutralizing rinse, dry the part immediately and completely with compressed air or clean cloths and get primer on it as fast as your workflow allows. Do not let a freshly treated part sit overnight unprimed. The flash rust risk is real, it is fast, and it will undo every minute of work you put into the bath if you skip the neutralization step or delay after it. That warning is what I held until now because I needed you to hear everything else first to understand why the method works and why the chemistry is sound, so that when I tell you the neutralization step is critical, you understand it is not a formality. It is the mechanism that protects the result you just achieved. Now let me bring this full circle for you because the comparison here is stark and it needs to be said directly. On one side, you have a $30 heavy-duty rust stripping gel that attacks both rust and healthy metal indiscriminately, leaves a chemical residue that sabotages paint, adhesion, and can set you up to redo the entire job within a month when your primer starts peeling. On the other side, you have a $1 box of citric acid powder from the grocery store baking aisle that uses selective organic chelation to pull iron oxide off steel without touching the parent metal, costs almost nothing, creates no toxic fume exposure, requires no skin protection beyond basic caution, and delivers bare clean metal in 5 minutes. The chemistry is documented, the mechanism is real. The result is reproducible every single time you follow the protocol correctly, including the neutralization step. If you have a friend with a project car sitting in the driveway, a set of rusty wheels in the garage, or a box of hand tools that have been rusting on a shelf since last winter, to share this video with them right now, so they can get to work this weekend without spending $30 on a product that might cause more problems than it fixes. And if you are not subscribed yet, hit that button now, because every week we are here cutting through the marketing noise and putting the real information in front of you The kind the big retail brands and the chemical companies are hoping you never find. The $1 rust cure was always sitting on the grocery shelf. Now you know exactly how to use it.